At the forefront of transaction banking's transformation is the payments industry. It's facing the move to instant payments and the potential of disintermediation as new entrants look to take advantage of incoming regulations that promise to democratise the sector. In this next chapter, we hear from Evelien Witlox, ING's Global Head of Transaction Services, Payments and Cards, about how these factors are driving innovation and how the customer journey is set to change. The payments industry is undergoing a period of rapid change. To what extent is this driven by client expectations, and why are their expectations changing?
Well, let me start by answering your last part of the question first. What we see is that technology is changing quickly and very rapidly. And because of those new technological possibilities, companies have used that to improve the customer experience of clients. And what we see is that has raised the bar. So because of these new technological possibilities, the customer journey becomes much more seamless, and it becomes any place, anytime, anywhere, the Martini effect, what a lot of people say. And that has been translated as well in the payment industry. So what we now see that it's no longer good enough to do a payment and then have it on your account over the weekend. So that's, for example, one of the driving forces behind the instant payments. So yes, I do believe there's a big change in the payment industry, starting by the higher customer expectation, but it's really driven by the technology. And so it's a sort of constant play with each other, because new technology makes it possible to even go further and even improve the customer experience much more.
And what about regulation? So the Payment Services Directive 2, or PSD2, takes effect next year. How will that and other regulations reshape the payments industry?
Well, the PSD2 is aimed to open up really the payment space. And the ultimate aim of the regulator is to make sure that we do payments as effortless and as painless as possible. And what they want to do is to open up the space so that more innovation will come through. And it has to be said that it has been also an incentive, or how do you say, motivation for banks to speed up their innovation. And also ING is very active in that space, so we are of course doing what the regulator is requiring, so we're opening up via APIs, but that is really also part of our strategy. So we are opening up for others to connect to our accounts and our services, but we are also developing services connecting to other banks, so to make the services for our clients even better. Examples of that are, for example, the Payconic initiative that we started in Belgium, rolled out to the Netherlands and spreading further in Europe. But also, for example, the Yolt initiative, which started in the UK. So we believe that PSD2 will indeed be a game changer, but with the ultimate goal to make the services for our clients better.
You mentioned technology beforehand. Are there any other examples of how advances in technology are reshaping the payments process?
Well, one of the most close to home, I think, is the APIs. I touched upon that a little bit earlier, which for PSD2 there are 3 that are mandatory, but we believe that it goes much further than that. And why are APIs so important? Because APIs allow services to seamlessly integrate. And as we said before, payments is not really something you do. You don't do a payment because you love to do payments. You do that always as a result. And that's true in the business to consumer space as well in the business to business. So you want to do business with a partner, and then you have to do a payment as a result of that. Now these customer journeys are quite independent from each other, so we have done business and then we need to move to something different to do the payment. With APIs it will be possible to really seamlessly integrate doing the payment in the total experience of shopping, but also we believe in the business to business space.
So as a result of all those factors you've just explained, how are banks having to change their business models to best serve customers?
Well, what we see is that the world is becoming more digital and more connected. So as ING has also seen the same thing, and we believe that it's good for a bank to have the ambition to be the go-to place, which is for definitely the aim of ING. So we're developing our service for that, but on top of that we believe that it's no longer good enough to trust that your clients come to you. You have to be where your clients are, and they're increasingly on the internet, on the marketplaces. So that is also a big part of our strategy, and we believe that is a winning strategy. You need to be where your clients are, so you can't trust that they come to you. So that means that you have to be able to integrate, but also to use technologies like artificial intelligence, for example, and data analytics to really make sure that if you are there, that you understand the needs of your customers and that you can provide them with really that it feels like tailor-made services for your clients.
So thinking into the future, what do you expect the payments industry to look like in, say, 5 to 10 years' time? And what does that mean for the customer experience?
Well, let's start with the end part. Payments is something, it's a painful experience in the end. So of course getting paid is not so painful, but having to pay is a painful experience. So we believe that will become really integrated. So you will probably see, what you now see is like really vertical solutions of people doing business, but also business doing business. We believe that it will be much more centered around marketplaces, and that the payment infrastructure will be an integral part of the whole journey of doing business together. So that is what we believe is the customer experience in the end. Transparency there is really important, so we need to be able, of course it needs to be painless, but you still want to be in control of what you pay and why you pay. But it's about also speed and ease of use there. So that's the customer experience. How the landscape, that the parties that will provide payments, well, I'm convinced that there will still be banks, but there will be other players, like you see now, that there you see certain champions in certain areas popping up, and those will also be parties that we will work with in the future to really make sure that we provide the best service to our clients.
Evelien, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you too.